So I'm here with Luke from Big Tree Tech, and we checked on them earlier in the year, and they had a bunch of cool stuff, but now they even have more newer, cooler stuff, including multi-material stuff. So we'll get to take a look at that. Let's go. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to HueForge, along with LDO Motors, for sponsoring this year's Sanjay Motorburg RepRap Festival coverage. For printer parts, kits, accessories, and more, check out LDO Motors. And if you want to print some really cool 2.5D color 3D prints, check out HueForge. Links in the video description. Now let's get started.
All right, so let's go for it. We'll start with some of the smaller, but still cool stuff. So we got this little guy over here. He is the Eco Turbo Kit, and if you're looking for CPAP performance, but you want it at a much lower cost, then this is what you should be looking at. So essentially, what you're looking at is a robot vacuum blower that is got our custom little PCB on it. Yeah, it just takes a normal fan input and 24 volts, and out you get really strong static pressure and flow, CPAP level cooling at like half the price. So cool little project over there. You got the Nebula, which is coming soon. So this is a really neat little extruder.
So that's a little extruder, yeah.
And obviously you've got RGB going on, so you've got some nice little macros that you can do for your LEDs to show status indicators there. You've got a button if you want. You've got an internal filament sensor, and the whole thing is really lightweight. So that is in advanced beta now. We've gone through 3 iterations. We're pretty happy with the final version. It's really giving great results. Expect it to hit probably in the next 4 weeks. And it'll be really well priced as well. So
that button there, that's like you can program it to be like a load, unload macro or whatever you want.
Macro, yeah, whatever you want it to do. That's your.
You fit a lot in a small package on that thing.
Our whole game plan was do a hang of a lot at a really low cost with really good performance. And funny story, at SMRRF last year was when we actually started the design on this. We were going home after SMRRF and we were busy inside CAD tinkering around and getting the concepts, and here it is a year later. So yeah, cool. Nebula is one of them. Maybe before we get to sort of the main event, we'll skip around this side.
Okay.
And our cryo grip build plate, look at that. It's doing some pretty crazy stuff. And if you put your finger over there,
yeah, that's
you will see that it is set to 1 degree, but you can't set it to 0 degrees. So, and at 1 degree, this is what it's busy doing. And it's actually going to build that so that it ultimately looks like that. Using only that as the adhesion. It's just the most insane adhesion. And the cool thing is, these plates are now, probably by the time this video drops, available for Voron 250, 300, 350, 235 by 235 plates, Prusa XL, just like a whole Cobra 3, like the whole bang shoot. So check on the website, they should all be there. We've got our new CNC boards as well. So you got the Scylla and the Rodent. The Rodent is sort of like the baby brother of the range. It runs Fluid NC, so it's got Wi-Fi, it's got the 4 drivers there. Really cool little board, fully capable of CNC. It's being used in some commercial mills even. And then you've got Big Brother over here, Scylla. Also, well, he does Linux CNC with Remora. It'll do Global HAL, RRF. Like, so you get your choice of firmware depending on what you want. It's got a little Wi-Fi module socket on there as well. VFD outputs analog and digital to the spindle. So, man, it's a great CNC controller board. And it's going to be used on some mills that may or may not be announced. It is used already on the Marlow. I think they've already announced that at the show, so that's cool. Yeah, it's going to be an option, I think, on even some mills that you might be familiar with, too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, the main event, here we go.
Yes.
VVD, which is short form for Vivid. So, you know, the DIY industry is kind of, there's this interesting interaction between these printers that are coming out now that are really full featured and sort of out the box ready to go. People are moving sort of away from COVID, and they're finding themselves with less and less time, but still that itch that they want to be able to build their own things. And so we're trying to develop a solution here where for your DIY machine, you can still get multi-material, multi-color without the need to spend weekends building something to get it to work. You meet in the middle. You get this beautiful DIY solution, but you kind of put it down, and within a few minutes, you're ready to go with it. So this is our concept behind the Vivid. You're looking at a multi-material, multi-color unit that has 4 filament slots in it. You've got an integrated heater. If you look there, you can see the crossflow fan.
So it actively will dry your filament.
It'll actively
while it
dry your
stores
filament.
it.
The kind of functionality we're looking at now is the heater actually integrates with Clipper. So it'll know when you're printing and when you're not printing. And to be safe, we're probably going to cap out the max temp at around 50 C during a print, because if you take it too high, you soften the filament. It's not able to pass over the extruder gears. They just eat into it. So once you're not printing, we'll probably push that up. You can do maybe like 65 to keep even the sort of top end filaments dry. So that's how that's going to work. It's got RFID in it as well. And what we're looking at doing is trying to support as many sort of formats and spools out there as possible. You can just take it really through a translator that converts it into something that Clipper or Spoolman or Moonraker may understand, and then we can support as many spools as possible. So RFID is going to be there as well. It's going to come with a buffer, which is over here, and the buffer basically does the job of what filament switches would need to do in the tool head. So now if you think about it, right, you're feeding filament through here, and once it hits the end,
So the tool head would be here.
the tool head's here. Once it hits the end, you're going to see this happen to the plunger, and it's going to extend. So that's the signal to us that one of two things has happened. We've either hit the extruder or we've gotten stuck somewhere along the way. How do we know which one of those two things has happened? Well, you engage the extruder. Does the plunger start retracting again? If it does, we made our way to the extruder. If it doesn't, back it up and try again a few times. And if it still doesn't,
Throw an error.
throw an error. Pause the thing, and if you have a filament switch in the extruder, you get the same result. But here we can just do it with logic over here, and it just makes the installation so much
So
easier.
you could throw this on really any machine as long as it's running Clipper. You don't need to worry about having a limit switch in the tool head.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very nice.
Ideally, we
You
want it to
could.
work. Yeah, you could. We want it to work also with a cutter. The reason is you just increase your reliability and also, each different filament needs different ramming settings, and it can become a bit of a mission to configure the ramming settings for each type of filament. The cutter just solves all of those.
Yeah.
You can use it with ramming. We recommend using it with a cutter.
Yeah. And the joy of open source is you can make it work. You can figure it out.
Exactly, make it work. So that's what the package would be. We're planning on offering it in actually 3 versions. So one version would be just the dryer itself. So it's a 4-slot dryer, and that's going to be a pretty cheap option, obviously, because there's no
real logic, no extra motors.
It's just a dryer, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to have a version of the multi-material unit without a dryer, without RFID, and that is going to be sort of the low 200s mark. And then we're going to have the version with the dryer, with the RFID, and that's sub 300. So we're coming in at that price range. Going to be really, really well priced. We're also working on purge and wiping solutions. So this is for a Voron 2.4. It goes onto your flying gantry, and what would happen is your nozzle would park in the corner just behind the bed. It would purge into there. Once it's done, it just wipes over there, which would pull that back, and once it's done with the wipe, it ejects it off to the side.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat little solution, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that is designed for the Voron 2.4.
Yeah,
You
it just
put
plug
it in
and play.
place.
Yep.
It's going, and all you need to do is take your nozzle to the right location and then tell the config file, which we've designed it at the moment to be integrated into mainline Clipper. So you simply, in Clipper, add the config section, you tell it, my wiper is located over here, that's the purge area, here's the travel area for the clean, and I want you to travel 4 times for the clean at this speed. So it's just simple config.
Yep.
You pop it in there, and it
Off it
does the
goes.
rest. Off it goes, yeah. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. And that's kind of the VVD. We're looking at a launch frame of about 4.5 months from now. This, believe it or not, is not injection molded, nor is it SLS printed. This is CNC'd from a massive block of polycarbonate.
This is a prototype, though.
This is a prototype,
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying we've got about 4.5 months left.
Yeah. So you got the functional prototype, and now you just need to get it ready for production.
We need to industrialize it, we need to beta test it, we need to bug fix, and all of that. And that's where we're bundling into that. We also want to try and get as many tool heads supported as possible, so cutters and purge systems and all the rest. So when we drop it, it's kind of like, look, if you're running one of these, it's supported kind of out the box.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to do to get it running. And then, if guys out there want to buy it for their unique whatever derivative, then we'll look at integrating their pull requests into our GitHub or our wiki, so we can add extra things on. If they've gone, and like you say, the cool thing with open source is guys are just going to be like, all right, I want to get this working with mine, and I'll do the mods. That's fine, and we'll integrate them into the mix.
That's very awesome. I'm looking forward to this because it's been a while. I've been waiting on somebody to come out with an open source version of the API AMS. So it's nice to finally see one in active development.
Yeah, that's it. And you can see Teflon tubes here, and that's actually one of our pet hates in a lot of AMS systems because they just wear.
They wear out.
Yeah. I can say the final version won't have Teflon tubes. Like I said, this is very prototype.
You're looking at alternatives.
We're looking at alternatives, and the alternative that we have installed in 2 generations ahead of this prototype, because this is a bit of an old prototype, uses a material that you can throw anything at it. It's going to be all right.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, it's going to be a hardy device as well. We're excited about it. I mean, you've got your RGB. I mean, when has Big Tree Tech ever released anything without RGB, right? But these are pretty cool. They're just RGB lights in Clippers. So the default functionality that will come when you include the config section is such that it will display loading status. So is it loaded and detected in the VVD? Is it loaded and detected in the buffer? And is it at the extruder yet? And then you can change it such that it displays the color of the filament that is now, loaded and printing with. Or the macros are up to you. They're full RGB, and you can make them do whatever you want them to do, which is also a really cool thing. Yeah. So that's our VVD.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you so much for stopping by. Enjoy it every time.
Yep.